You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with Lyndia Grant.
My name is Lyndia Grant, and I'm here at Radio 1 in Washington, D.C., and this is The Lyndia Grant Show. All right, well, we're going to be talking to Dr. Honorable Councilmember Frank Smith just as soon as he can hear me. Are you there, Dr. Smith?
I can hear you, Lyndia. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Thank the Lord.
Okay,
yes.
Good.
Okay, now we're in business. I'm so sorry. All right, Well, I just wanted to let them know that even though Dr. Julianne Malvo can't be here today, you're a politician, so we decided, I told you in advance. So, Councilman Frank Smith, what you got to talk about? We're going to talk about the Civil War Memorial and all the big plans you got for Veterans Day, but in the second half. But the first half, let's just talk about what's going on in American politics.
Well, you know, I'm not as good at this as Dr. Julianne Malvo is, but I'll do my best. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be a good warm-blooded Democrat American if I didn't have a word to say about what just went on in Virginia here last Tuesday, right across the river from Washington, D.C. and Virginia. Mm-hmm. So, we knew that Terry McAuliffe always ran in close races, but he always managed to squeak by. Mm-hmm. Except this time, I guess he wasn't able to squeak by, and left us all here really trembling like an earthquake, the aftermath of an earthquake.
Yes,
wondering what's going to happen next. Mm-hmm. Because we know that President Biden carried that state by such a wide margin, and President Obama carried it twice. So, so we know it can be won by Democrats. So how did this man who has such a long history? Well, one thing is that the Democratic Party now is in shambles. It's just it looks like it's leaderless. The Congress is fighting among itself over various things. And let me just say to everybody that I believe once this both of these bills pass, the infrastructure bill passes and the social services bill passes, these two things together are going to be a game changer for the United States of America. And I'm really proud of the fact that we've got this thing on the table. I just wish they'd go ahead and do it now. And I know they're debating it. I think they're going to vote tonight. Mm-hmm. So let me put my little 2 cents worth to the Congress, especially to the radical left, as they call them, which where I would be if I was in the Congress. Mm-hmm. Let's go ahead and vote this thing out. We've got a little over $1 trillion in there for that social service package, and I think we can do a lot of work with that. Let's take that and count our blessings and get ready for the next fight, because next year, about this time next year, we'll be looking in early November of next year, we'll get another Democratic race down there in Georgia, my home state of Georgia, trying to save Senator Warnock. Well, and if we don't give Warnock something to run on, he's not going to win.
And also, Councilman Frank Smith, let's just talk about what's going on in America with voting rights. What I know, because you're a SNCC man. I haven't even introduced you yet, but let's talk about that too. I know you wanted to talk about the Virginia, but it's a lot going on with this voting situation that upsets us.
Well, I was talking to somebody about this today. I said, black people, we had to save the soul of America in the Civil War, to end slavery, to get rid of that horrible condition of slavery where they were holding people here as slaves. And then after slavery, we got Jim Crow, where black people were riding the back of the bus. I was in that generation, having to take second-class citizenship, second-class books. We had to get rid of that in the Civil Rights Movement. And the Civil Rights Movement was another war. We lost a lot of our own soldiers, including Martin Luther King. So it looks like we're going to have to redeem America again. We're going to have to save this voting rights thing, because if we don't save this voting rights thing, so minorities, blacks and Hispanics and women, feminist women can continue to vote, they're going to turn back the clock.
Yes.
So Congress need to get, I don't know what they're thinking about up there. This should be number one, a priori on their list of things that they have to get done is voting rights. That's right. Because if we don't win voting rights, they're going to take the Congress and the Senate. We won't be able to do anything.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be a mess. I'm sick of it all. Well, I just wanted to make sure I had a chance to talk about a little bit about politics today. Councilmember Frank Smith, from the District of Columbia, who served the citizens for 20 years, including his city council seat in Ward 1 and as a member of the Board of Education. So we just thank you for being our guest, talking politics. And we're going to go to a commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the African American Civil War Memorial and what you've got planned for Veterans Day. Back in a moment.
All right.
Back in a moment.
Lindia Grant.
Ida B. Wells, born into enslavement, was a journalist and activist. An avid reader, she read through the entire Bible many times. Wells was once asked to leave the ladies' car and sit in the colored train. She refused and train officials pushed her. Ida B. Wells retaliated but was pushed off the train at the next stop. A crowd of whites applauded. She vowed to get even. 3 of her close friends were lynched for opening businesses that cut into profits of whites. Everything changed for Wells. She spoke out internationally against lynching of blacks for the rest of her life. Through her efforts, lynching in America nearly disappeared by the time of her death. An NAACP founder, we salute Ida B. Wells for Women's History Month.
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at WashingtonInformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.
If it wasn't for my care coach at AmeriHealth, I probably wouldn't be so healthy right now. As a man, we don't get checkups or see a doctor regularly anyways. It's probably just a man thing because none of my partners go either. We know we should, but we just don't, and hope it works out.
So what changed for you?
AmeriHealth assigned me a care coach, somebody that gives one-on-one help, answer questions, explain things, and help set my appointments. She also helped me understand what having high blood pressure really means and ways to manage it so it doesn't kill me. It ain't nothing to play with. If you're a member of AmeriHealth, ask for a care coach. I'm glad I got mine.
At AmeriHealth, if you need a care coach, you can have one. Just call us at 1-877-759-6224 to get connected. 1-877-759-6224. This program is funded in part by the government of the District of Columbia Department of Healthcare Finance. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
And we are back. You're listening to the Lindia Grant Show here on Spirit 1340 WYCB, Washington, D.C., Radio 1. I'm so proud to introduce again our guest speaker today, our guest here on our show, the Honorable former D.C. Council member Frank Smith. He served the citizens of the District of Columbia, I believe, 16 years as a city council member. And he also was on the D.C. school board for around 4 years. So I said 20 years as an elected official, plus he done another 20 years with the project of the African American Civil War Memorial. So today, he wore 2 hats because I asked him to help us out in politics, but he is going to be talking to us about Veterans Day. I thank him often for appointing me as the project director for the African American Civil War Memorial. The museum is doing so much, but I was there when it all got started, when it was nothing but just a subway station and no monument out there, Frank. We had to make it happen, didn't we?
Just a patch of dirt, that's all.
That's right. So I just thank you for allowing me to be a part of helping to get the African American Civil War Memorial Spirit of Freedom Monument there now, a national monument. And you got that museum and you have some big news and announcements. And I know from working for you for so many years that you always do very special occasions for Veterans Day. And I want to let the listeners know that when I first started working for Councilman Frank Smith back in the 1990s, he told me we got to get General Colin Powell down here, Linda, to help us make some noise about this monument that's coming. We didn't even have nothing up, but you wanted him to come to raise the roof, and he came. So talk to us about it, and his funeral was today.
That's right, absolutely. So yes, Linda, I'm glad you reminded all of us that for about 8 of those 16 years, you were on my staff down there. Mm-hmm. At the most important time, especially when this monument was being built. You and I, remember, we took a bunch of kids from Garnett Patterson Middle School to California to the studio where the movie Glory was made.
That's right. And met Denzel there. Met Denzel there.
Met Denzel Washington. Got a photograph with him. Got a picture to show it. Mm-hmm. I was walking at Banneker Field yesterday. I'm an old man. I have to walk a little bit every day. And a young man ran up to me who was out there with his son. Teenage son's playing ball. This young man was on that trip with us to California.
Oh my
many years ago. Now he's a daddy raising his own children, and he's out there carrying on with his kid. He was at baseball practice with his son. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, we are this Thursday, November the 11th. This coming Thursday, Veterans Day, the holiday. At 11 o'clock in the morning, we're having a special program this year for Veterans Day, and we're going to dedicate it this year to General Colin Powell. Lindia was right. He came to us when we were just a little patch out there at that subway stop trying to get going. Mm-hmm. And he came, and we had a big reenactment there. He did a review of the soldiers. I got a photograph of the two of us walking down there. We're going to honor him this Thursday at 11 o'clock. And I have a special speaker this year, Major Tina Miller. Mm-hmm. Major Tina Miller November 1st was promoted from lieutenant colonel to major, and she is going to be my speaker this year. A woman who was very high ranking in the military. She is going to talk about her personal experience and inspiration that Colin Powell provided for her. So she also happens to be, by the way, a distant cousin of mine.
Okay.
I'm very proud of her. I'm very proud of Lindia. Some of us. I was one of those people. I led the way when I went off to college, and first one in my family to go to college. She led the way. She was her mother and my father, sisters and brothers. In her family, she led the way. Mm-hmm. And she went not only to college, but then to the military. She's been in the military now for 30 years. And she's stationed here at the Pentagon. And she's a dynamic speaker. Mm-hmm. So I'm inviting the public to come out at 11 o'clock. On Veterans Day, we're going to do it outside. We're going to be COVID conscious and do it outside. Mm-hmm. Weather permitted, we will have a small group come into the museum. So if you get there, we're going to let you see what we're doing. You get to see our new work that we're doing out there. We're on our way to open it up in May of 2022 in our new building. And in front of that building is going to be a photograph, a new statue of President Abraham Lincoln. But I want to invite the public to come out. This is a good year for us. We have to soldier on. Those of us who believe in freedom have to continue to work and to try to make the country better, to make people believe that democracy and voting are important. That's our job. Mm-hmm. That's our duty. That's our calling. And we have to keep it up as long as we can.
Well, I want to just reemphasize the new building. You all who might not know, the museum is currently at Grimke School, 1945 Vermont Avenue. I know it's 1900 block. 1925 Vermont Avenue, right there behind Grimke School, which is right across from the African American Civil War Monument. So what I wanted to tell you is, although it's back in the back now, it's going to be moving to the front, to the main building. That's what he was talking about.
That's right.
And it's going to be a statue of Abraham Lincoln sitting in a chair in front of the main entrance, so you won't be mistaken. And the museum is going to be all through the first floor.
That's right. Absolutely. And let me just say, he's signing the Emancipation Proclamation. And what's important about that? Paragraph 8 of the Emancipation Proclamation says persons of suitable condition will be brought into the Union Army. And it's through that paragraph 8 that 209,145 African-American men and their white officers march into something called the Bureau of U.S. Colored Troops. They go out on these battlefields in Petersburg and Virginia. We go out on these battlefields in Nashville, Tennessee. We go out on these battlefields in Georgia, and other places in Louisiana, at Port Hudson. We go out on these battlefields and we fight for our freedom. We get rid of the scourge of slavery, the 13th Amendment. African Americans get the citizenship under the 15th Amendment, the right to vote under the 15th Amendment. So it's an important feature that we're going to add to this story, and we know the people of the district and the DMV are going to be proud of us, and certainly the people of the nation are going to be proud of us when we'll be opening up in May of 2022. So come out to see us this week, though, for Veterans Day on the 11th at 11 a.m.
Mm-hmm. And I also want to take this opportunity, only because I've been watching. I haven't been involved, but I've been watching from a distance. we want to thank Mayor Muriel Bowser because we saw this announcement on TV a few weeks ago, where you all were actually having a ribbon cutting and getting this thing going. And thank I don't know what the company. It's a company that is working with you all and helping to sponsor the space.
Right. Yeah, we're sharing the building. You know, the Grimsley building has about 70,000 square feet of space in it. We don't need that much space for our museum. We only need about 15,000 square feet of space for our museum, 2 floors, which is about 3 times what we have now. Mm-hmm. And so the rest of the building, however, is going to be composed of a firm, an architectural firm, that's moving down here from Maryland into Washington, D.C., and they're going to have 100 new employees that are going to be in that building along with us. So this is a win-win for the whole neighborhood. These are new jobs for people who will live and work in the area, who will shop in the area, and help keep the place up. And, of course, we'll have a new museum in the building. And guess what? We got this thing set up so we don't have to pay any rent.
Oh,
and so we're able to stay there. We ain't got to worry about getting pushed out by inflation and gentrification and all that stuff because we organize this thing so it can last forever.
Well, I know that you talked about that from the very beginning. You said, Linda, when we're dead and gone, I want to make sure this museum is still going so that there will be a line item in somebody's budget that can keep it going. I remember you saying it. You got it, too.
Been working on it for years, Lydia. And listen, thank God for people like you. Every chance I get, I have to say this about you. You have been one of the most dedicated, hardworking people I know. When we were working on this project together, you took in that family there, a new mother, unexpected mother who got pregnant at a very early age and had a kid. You took her in and her kid. She eventually ended up working at Howard University, and now her kids have finished college.
Yes.
And one of them was by the museum one day. She said, Mr. Smith, you don't remember me, do you? I said, no. She said, well, she told me who she was. I said, yeah, last time I saw you, you were a baby. She said, well, I'm not no baby anymore now. I finished college.
Exactly. Both
that's a star in your crown, Linda Grant. That's all. The Lord's gonna remember that when you get when you stand before the judgment. He's gonna say, Linda Grant, you did good. Yes, and I want to thank you for it.
Yes. And you know what? And I feel like I did good just working with you because we had to work hard. And I know that even when we were discouraged, you had to keep it going. Because you remember when we were getting ready to try to have the unveiling and people were coming from all over the country and the Washington Post wrote a story showing all that stuff out there. Like, I don't know how you having no unveiling. Look at all these stacks. And the phone started ringing from all over the country. People was telling me off, talking about how y'all planning an unveiling. But you know what? God is good because it happened.
It sure did. Yeah,
right when we said it would.
We went ahead with what we had because we are 2 people of faith. We don't give up.
That's right.
We know that the Lord told us if you make one step, He'll make 2.
That's right.
And you have to trust in Him. You have to trust Him. If you don't trust Him, it's hard to run the race we run. But we do trust Him, and we live our life. We travel this way by faith. But this Thursday at 11 o'clock, we want you to come out to the African American Civil War Museum at 1925 Beaumont Avenue Northwest. We're going to have a special program, I told you already, dedicated to General Coleman Powell, and we'll have special speaker Major Tina Miller, who's a active duty major stationed at the Pentagon, by the way, here in Washington, D.C., who's really done well. And I talked to her today. She talked about how Dr. Colin Powell had inspired her so much, and she's happy to talk about him. And so we want to have her out there, and we want to have a good showing for her. So come out to see us.
I hope you have that whole picture, because I know on your website it's just a little part. But I hope you have an enlarged photograph of you and General Colin Powell walking through those soldiers. I hope you do for next week.
Well, I will have one, and I'll have as many. And actually, I'm trying to find, Linda, some of those soldiers who were in that lineup that day. I'm hoping I can get some of them to come.
But I'll make some calls too and see if I can help you now that I know that's what you're doing. I don't know if I can, but I can try.
Love to have them. We'd love to have them out there that day to represent General Powell. He was an outstanding man. I'll tell you a quick little story about him. We had him twice. We had him the first time he came for that groundbreaking that you're talking about. And one time we had a fundraiser we had him to come, and he was the headliner for our fundraiser. We were trying to raise some money, and he came to the fundraiser, and we had told I told his agent who represented him that if he came, we would give him an honorarium of $5,000, and they said, well, don't worry about it. But I said, okay. So when he got there, I handed him a check for $5,000. He handed the check back to me. He said, here, you need this more than I do. Pulled his pen out in his checkbook and wrote us a personal check for $5,000.
Oh, my God. Isn't that a beautiful thing?
He sure did. He said, look, this is my contribution, my personal contribution to this thing. He said, you've done good work here, putting this story out here about African-American soldiers in the Civil War. You made us all proud. And here's my personal contribution. He was a good man. He was dedicated. He was down to earth, and he has inspired a whole lot of people to do good work. And our speaker for this Thursday is somebody who was personally inspired by it.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I saw you on TV a couple of weeks ago, or maybe 7-8 days ago on MSNBC, that Civil War story.
Oh yes.
I think I heard them say 180,000. You still got to keep working to try to get that number out there. 209,145. And it was quoted in the Washington Informer. Either I made a typo or they made a typo, but I know it's 209,145. But they wrote 208,000. So I just want you to know, I know it's engraved in my brain. So,
Well, people, listen, I do know one thing, Lydia. When you look at that wall out there and you see all those names, 200,000 names, and they say there's a number that no man can number.
I'm telling you.
If you want to get dizzy in a moment, try to count all of them.
That's right.
That'll make you dizzy.
And I want people to also know that we didn't make it up, because when we first got started, it was done by the National Park Service and the federal government. So Councilman Frank Smith worked very hard, you all, to make sure that those names were authenticated. They came through the National Park Service. And so you don't have to worry about, is that true? Because we didn't make it up. It came from them.
And Lydia, there's one other thing, let me add to that. We have just completed the application with the Guinness Book of Records. The Guinness Book of Records is about to certify us as a museum with the largest monument with the largest number of names anywhere in the world. The Vietnam Memorial only has 58,000 names on there. We have 209,145 names.
Oh,
and you're right. These names we got them from the records of the National Archives. They were recorded for us by the Park Service and don't forget about the Mormon Church now.
The Mormon Church was involved. And soldier system.
They had more patience than God, because you know how many times some of them names came up wrong. They had to go check them.
They did.
Fix them, and they worked with us. They had the faith, and they had the talent. They had the skill.
And then we had volunteers from sororities and churches coming in there helping me every day. And I got an award for typing the most names. So I typed over 25,000 of those names was typed by my fingers, y'all.
Right. Actually, when you first signed up, we were only supposed to go through 1,200 names. We were supposed to do one regiment. But once you got started, you were doing so well, you and your group of volunteers, the Mormon Church said, well, y'all got to keep going now. Y'all can't stop.
Got to do them all. Yes, indeed. So I tell you, it's a wonderful project, and I want to encourage you all to come out. This is the best you can come to for Veterans Day, to celebrate African-American soldiers. And there are 7,000 white officers. If you happen to be listening and you're a white person and you want to know why should you come, because they were white officers involved, and their names are also on that memorial.
Right, absolutely. And that's an important point, too, Lydia. I have to keep making this point all the time myself, because this is one of the things I learned in the Civil Rights Movement when I was down in Mississippi. Black people are only 20% of the population in this country. And for us to make a change, for us to win a national election or even a statewide election in Georgia, for example, and even in Virginia, we have to find some allies somewhere.
Yes, we do.
You got to have some white allies. You got to have some Hispanics. You got to have some others. And that's what it should be that way. We should all be able to reach out to others, like-minded, well-meaning people who believe in freedom, believe in democracy. And we put together a winning team. And that's how you win. And it's the only way you can win. And that's how it should be.
All right. Well, Frank, I think we're out of time now, but I thank you for coming on. I tried to get everything I could in.
You did a good job. Thank you, dear. Glad to be on with you.
All right. And thank you. All right. Thank you. All right. You listen to the Lindy Grant Show. We just about out of time. I want you to just come and visit me at my church at All Nations Baptist Church at North Capitol, Rhode Island Avenue, Northeast Washington, D.C. every Sunday at 11 o'clock. My pastor's Reverend Dr. James Coleman. Pick up the Washington Informer. This is National Diabetes Month. This week, my column is called Your Body is a Temple. Next week, our guest is Dr. Gail Nunley Bland from Howard University talking about diabetes. Words, thoughts, and deeds have a boomerang effect, so be careful what you send out. Scripture says, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. So from the Lindy Grant Show, I'm your host, Lindy Grant. Until next week, good day.
Thank you for listening to the Lindy Grant Show. Think on these things with your host, Lindy Grant.